Rocket fuel is scary. Hey y'all, let's talk about rocket fuel. From the sane and sensible stuff to, well, the not so sane or sensible stuff. Before we can talk about the interesting ideas engineers have had for fueling their rockets, we need to talk about how rocket fuel works. As you probably know, rocket engines, like most other kinds of engines, work by burning things. Unfortunately, you tend to need oxygen for stuff to burn, and that's an issue because space, famously, doesn't have much of any oxygen. The solution here is to just bring your own with you. This is known as an oxidizer. Basically, this just means every rocket carries two kinds of danger liquid with them into space. Mix the two together and you get fire. So let's go back to the early days of rockets. When the no-no Germans were making their V2 rockets, they used a combination of 75% alcohol, 25% water for their fuel, and liquid oxygen for their oxidizer. Or in other words, they fueled their rockets with vodka. This had the negative effects of a quarter of the fuel being useless water and the mild issue of engineers being able to get drunk on their own fuel. Eventually, engineers sobered up enough to figure out that it would be better if their fuel wasn't 25% dead weight and moved on to using kerosene instead of alcohol. The most recognizable formulation of this is called RP1, which stands for Rocket Propellant 1. Because engineers are famously horrible at naming things. RP1 is just super highly refined jet fuel. This is by far the most common fuel used in rocket engines, and is usually paired with LOX as an oxidizer, which is just another name for liquid oxygen. This combination is known as Kerolox. Another common fuel type is Hydrolox. Can you guess what fuel oxidizer combo Hydrolox is? That's right, hydrogen and oxygen. This fuel has the benefit of being super efficient. The only issue is the fact that keeping hydrogen a liquid is unbelievably difficult, seeing as it evaporates at negative 253 degrees Celsius. That is, as the experts say, pretty cold. So cold, in fact, that the nitrogen and oxygen that make up most of our atmosphere freeze solid at that temperature. So it's safe to say that hydrogen is kind of a pain to work with. Now, there's one more pretty common category of fuels we haven't mentioned yet. It's also where we leave some of our sensibilities behind. The biggest issue with all the fuel combinations we've talked about so far is that they use liquid oxygen, which needs to be kept super cold in order to not boil away. To solve this, we turn to the wonderfully horrifying world of hypergolic propellants, also known as hypergols. These fuel oxidizer combos have two big advantages. First, they can be stored at room temperature without boiling away. And second, they ignite spontaneously when they touch each other, meaning we don't need any kind of spark plug or other ignition source in our engine. Now, when the god of rockets saw engineers inventing this overpowered combo, he decided to balance it by making it ridiculously dangerous. Not only do they instantly ignite when they so much as graze each other, but the individual fuels and oxidizers can also easily kill you, as they are more toxic than the Call of Duty community. To show you just how deadly hypergols are, I'm going to tell you the story of the Nettelen catastrophe. On October 24th, 1960, Soviet engineers were preparing a hypergolic-fueled R-16 ballistic missile prototype for a launch, when a short circuit caused the upper stage engine to fire. This resulted in the rocket exploding, filling the barbed wire enclosed launch pad with fire and toxic hypergolic propellants. The resulting death toll is unknown, but has been placed somewhere in the range of 50 to 300 people, all of whom died in some of the most horrific ways possible. Now, Soviet engineers saw how horrifying hypergolic fuels were and decided they can do better. They decided to use chlorine as an oxidizer. This would have made their engines a good deal more efficient, but also much more dangerous. Just ask a World War I soldier how safe chlorine is. Now imagine if a rocket as tall as a 15-story building full of chlorine blew up. I think it's safe to say that it would be at least mildly unpleasant for anyone in the area. The peak of dangerous rocket oxidizers is one that repeatedly comes up as a suggestion due to the insane performance increases it offers. It is the single most reactive oxidizer possible, and engineers from the Soviet Union, United States, and European Union have all suggested and even tested its use. I'm talking about fluorine. Those of you with some chemistry knowledge know why fluorine is at the top of this list, but I'll take a moment to enlighten the rest of you. Think of an object. Yeah, literally any object. Got one? Well, fluorine reacts with it. The air outside? Fluorine reacts with it. Glass test tube? Fluorine reacts with it. A single fingerprint left inside of your fuel tank? You guessed it, fluorine reacts with it. Still need convincing? Ask a chemistry-inclined person how comfortable they'd be handling a single liter of liquid fluorine. Odds are they'd much prefer not to. Yeah, it's the stuff of nightmares. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please consider leaving a like or comment. It really helps a channel as small as mine. And if you didn't like it, why not tell me why in the comments so I can improve? Anyways, I'm gonna go back to hiding now since, as I said earlier, rocket fuel is scary.